Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here with another Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. Tonight I'm going to be making a pop and twist card out of the new Winnie the Pooh Baby line from Echo Park. It's a line I'm very excited about because we have a new baby in our family coming soon. And my neighbor just had a baby, so this card is actually for my neighbor. All right, so I have a bunch of Winnie the Pooh scraps and some cardstock from the same line that I didn't use. I just want to show you what we're headed towards. So this is our pop and twist card. It opens and closes like this. And I've got all the measurements and everything on each of the pages so I don't forget. So I always try to make a piece in advance to remind myself of what I'm doing. So the first thing I want to do is pick my papers. For the actual card itself, I need to have background paper. So I could either use the green or the brown, but I think I'm going to use the brown side. And this one I have to cut at 4 1/4 by 11. So let's get that done first, right off the bat. So we're going to cut our 4 1/4 piece. 4 1/4. I'm going to just put that to the side by 11. There we go. And I'm going to put that to a side because I never know when I can use a little tiny piece of paper. This is my base, and I need to score this. So I'm going to score this at the halfway mark, which is 5 1/2. And I just go over very lightly 2 or 3 times. So that is our base piece. Now, the next thing I have to cut are my decorative pieces. So that's the piece that's going to go on the other side of this, on the insides. And I've got 2 different sizes for that. The first piece that I'm cutting is going to be the decorative element that will show outside of the inner paper. So if we open this up, we have our background piece, and then we have our decorative piece, which is 4 1/2 by 5 3/8, and then we have our piece that goes on the inside. The piece that goes on the inside and the piece that is on the back of the paper, I want it to be something with a pattern. Now I do have all these scraps. I don't want it to be too active, but I kind of like this green pattern. So that's going to be the inner piece. And then I need a piece between that. So maybe I'll just go actually with this blue. And then we have the green on top. Let's see if that works. Or maybe we go dark chocolate. There we go. Maybe dark chocolate. And then green on top, or I could go green with the pattern and then dark chocolate on top. No, I think I like it the other way. All right, this one we are going to cut. Just double check my measurements. We are going to cut that 4 1/2 by 5 3/8, and I need 2 of those. So let's do that right now. So we're going 4 1/2 first. And it is 4 1/2. Isn't that convenient? So this one is going to be 4 1/8, not 4 1/2, which is what I said originally, 4 1/8. And then I'm going to make a second one, 4 1/8, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. There we go, 5 3/8. There we go, we're back on track. Again, saving that little piece. So these guys are going to fit here and here. Perfect. And they just give a little tiny border. So then the green ones that I'm going to put on the inside on top of that, so those 3 pieces, is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So let's get 3 7/8. That's a nice piece to keep for later. By 5 1/8, and 5 1/8. There's 2. Okay, another piece for my stash. And these. So let's put these guys together to begin with. So I want to have I'm folding along that score line that we made, the halfway point. So make sure it folds properly. So I want the brown on the outside. I just realized I had the wrong color. And then we have the dark brown on the inside. And then the green goes on top of that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, let's lay these down. Where do I want the blue now that I see the blue and the green? No, I want the brown. So we're going to put some regular, we should actually, now that I'm thinking of it, we should use some very stiff either glue, or I'm going to use glue for this because it's a larger piece. I don't want to use my tape for this part because it's not really a mechanism, but it does have to hold a mechanism. So we're just putting some glue across the top. There we go. And we're going to stick this down. A 1/16 of an inch really is all it is. Super little. There we go. I should probably take these guys out of the way so I don't put glue on them. There we go. And then I'm going to glue this down, make sure my hearts are the right side up. Manipulating it till it's even all the way around. There we go. And there we have one side. And we're going to do the same to the other side. All right, there we go. And there's our card all set to go. Beautiful. Okay, so then the next thing I want to do is I want to put something on the front cover here. I'm going to be doing just one piece that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I want to see if I have any paper here that I can use. I've got plain. These guys are not going to work for this part. That would. And then I can decorate it. Well, I actually like the yellow on there. This is too small, too small. Okay. Now, the other thing I have, which is interesting, is this little thing. That can be a decor piece. I think I'm going to stick with the yellow. So we're going to cut this one 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I'm going to cut the 5 1/8 first, and 3 7/8 is second. And that's going to go on there, and then we're going to put some kind of a nice saying in. And this one I can just use tape for because there's going to be no interactive pull on it. So I'm just using my tape and centering it on the page. And there's our front. So we got a front and a top and our bottom. Now we have to play with the mechanism. This we can put aside for a moment. And now we're going to look at this part. And the first piece we have to have is an underpiece that we're not really going to see. It's never a part of what happens in the opening and closing except at this point. And this point you're not really going to see it because you're moving it quickly. We can use one of our scrap pieces for that. One of these thinner guys. These are, I think I want to keep that for decor. Yep. I like that for decor. I can use this piece as the interactive piece because I'm not a big fan of what's going on there. This piece, this interactive piece, needs to be 2.5 by 8. We're going to cut that first. 2.5 and 8. 8 is the way to go. We have to do some scoring on this. The first thing we're going to do, I'm going to get my sample off the board, score right down the center of this, and that score at 1 1/4. Okay, and that should be the halfway point. And you just go a couple of times lightly. Okay, and there's your first score at 1 1/4. Then we're going to turn it sideways, and this time we're just going to use our pen and we're going to mark some dots. And our dots are being measured at 2 3/4. So 2 3/4, I'm going to put a little dot there, and at 5 1/4, I'm going to put a little dot right at the edge there. So if you can see my little dots, then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing again at 2 3/4 and 5 1/4. Okay. You'll notice I have a dark line down the center of my board. It serves a bunch of different purposes, but in this case, it allows me to line up my little dots when I have my paper on the angle. We've already got our 1 1/4 inch line down the center. Now we are going to line up our 2 1/4 dot here on the right side with our 5 1/4 dot on the left side. And then we are just going to put a score line there. And the reason why the black line is helpful is because without it, you don't know exactly which one lines up with the one below the paper, and this way I know for sure, top to bottom. And then I'm going to do the same with the right hand 5 1/4 and the left hand 2 3/4. There we go. All right. So now we have our embossed piece. Let's just get this out of the way because we're going to do our folding. First thing we're going to do is fold down the center. And that folds fairly easy on its own because of the nature of the paper. And now we're going to take this and we're going to fold diagonally, open it up, and fold diagonally. If you have a good score, it should not be difficult to fold. Okay, so now we have all of our lines folded. You can see that everything folds the way that you want it to. This is the tricky part. We need to push in on either side of that fold line so that it becomes like a little house. So how I did that was, I've got my crisscrossing lines. I just take my finger and pop it in the center, and because I've got those folds, it naturally kind of wants to fold in the right way. There will be some adjusting you'll need to do depending on how accurate your bone folder is when it goes into that hole. And then you're just going to make sure that everything is nice and flat. There we go. All right, now we have our mechanism. This is where you need your tape. You're going to tape across. Because it's a mechanism, it has to be stiff. So we're going to tape across. And I usually put 3 bits in there just to make sure. You don't want any coming over the edge because it will interfere with everything. So I'm going to put another little piece at the top tip. I could put another piece there, but I think the 3 pieces will be enough to keep it secure. Now we're going to bring down our card. Our card is 4¼ inches. Half of 4¼ would be 2⅛. So I'm just going to put that dot, 2⅛, and I'm going to put a dot right in the middle of the card on the fold, because that's where I have to line this up. So I'm going to take this off, and I need to stand, and I'm going to align my tip just at the edge of that dot and try to make sure that everything is lined up. There we go. And my card should fold nicely. Awesome. So now the next thing I'm going to do is put the tape on again. I should already have an angle on there, so that'll make taping the bottom edge easy. And I use this angle since it's already there. Now we can peel those off. Now what you're going to do is you're going to just fold your card like you normally would. So hold these guys down and just close your card over top. Press it down nicely. And then voila, you have your working mechanism. So that's where we're at so far. Now the next part is the super simple part. The rest is like decorating pretty much. We are going to cut a piece that is going to be over top that we're actually going to see, and we're going to cut it 2½ by 10. So what I think I wanted these as the squares. Actually, that might be the right width. Nope, it is not. So this we're going to have as the little decorative squares. And how wide is this, I wonder? Not big enough. There we go, the back of this paper I'm going to use. So I need a 2½ by 10 inch piece. Just going to move my mechanism out of the way. Grab my cutter. 2½ inch piece. There we go. Keep that. And this is 10 inches I need sideways. All right, so we have our 2½ inch by 10 inch piece, and we are going to score it every 2½ inches. So we need our scoreboard again. Now you can cut these all in advance, but I'm walking you through what I think is a natural progression of building the card. But once you know how to build it, you can do this, all the cuts in advance if you know what papers you want. I only picked up the papers at the time of the class. 2½ inches. And then we have 5 inches, and then we have 7½ inches. I am going to fold in the center line with exposing the side of the paper I want to see. Maybe I won't use that paper. And then I'm going to fold back in, making sure they align, because you do have a little wiggle room. Because most styluses that you use to create the fold are a little bit wider than what is needed. So you can make them fit perfectly. And just want to line this one up. There we go. There we go. There we go. So we have this W with the tip being on, the mountain being on the side of the paper that we want to show. Now, we are going to just take our measurement again, and this time I did it in pen before, but I'm going to do it in pencil this time because I want to make sure I get my halfway point again on either side of the paper, because I can't see what I did on the seam any longer. So 2 1/8 is right there. I just have to make sure I can align my paper. 2 1/8 is right there. And if you want to draw that line so you can be clearer, especially if your paper's highly active. It doesn't matter whether you won't see this. Okay, so there's my line for center. I am going to put the side that is the mountain, I'm going to fold my insides in and just line it up more or less with the center. And I'm going to put some adhesive in this corner. Again, I'm using the tape adhesive, and in that corner. So the bottom right corner and the top left corner, not underneath this mechanism, but beyond the mechanism. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Lining it up, making sure that I'm halfway. I'm going to stick a piece there and a piece there. Okay, that'll be more than I need. And again, lining up. There we are. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do one side at a time. We're going to peel off the lower right-hand side. If we can get it. And making sure that we have this in the center again and lined up along the edge of the paper. A little over. Let's go back up. There we go. Now we're going to flip this out and flatten it against that adhesive. I'm going to switch this around just because it's easier to reach. I'm going to take the tops off my adhesive again. Whoops. There we go. And I'm going to line everything up again. Flatten it all out. And then flatten that against the adhesive. So that we have this kind of thing happening. So the only adhesive is here and there. Now, we need to make sure that our popping mechanism is doing its popping thing. And you'll notice that it has a natural bend to it. And then you'll just double flatten it. So now you have your popping feature. Okay, so you just, when you're going from this point, you just make sure that your bendable bits that are supposed to go in are bending in the right direction, and close it up. There we go. And then that's it. The rest is just decoration. So I want to have something fun on these little squares. I have that. That's not very interesting. I've got tons of green, so I don't want any more green. I have the little flowers. Oh, stripes. We've got to have stripes. All right. I don't think the Winnie the Poohs are big enough. Nope. So we're going to do stripes. Now we need 4 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 squares. So we definitely can get that out of here. And because there's 4, we're going to go to the 2 1/4 measure first. So we have a nice strip left over. This nice strip we can use in another project. 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Yes, 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So we have 1. And the rest gets saved. So we have 4 little stripe pieces. Now the other thing I can do with these is I can have some that are striped and some that are not, if I want. But I think I want them all striped. I think I want them all striped. Look at how fun those are. All right, now I need 2 by 2 squares, and I'm going to keep these fairly simple. I think I have enough yellow. What about blue? Is that a 2-inch square there? Nope. I might still have some blue hiding somewhere. All right, I am going to go for the orange. So let's do the orange. I have my little mini cutter here. Picks up enough space. I need 4 2x2s. This is not 2 inches wide. There we go. We got a nice piece of that. That's what I was thinking. And 2. And now we're going to stick all these down. So I like to put the tops on the bottoms first. And these can be glue, or not glue, but your adhesive. And give them a nice centered location. There we go. There's one. All right. And now we'll just attach these to the center of these. Try to center them as best as you can. Whoops. My stripes on the other side. There we are. So this is our card prior to decorating. It should open and close very easily. And now all we need to do is the decorating. All right, so I have a number of little doodads and stickers and things that I'm going to use for this. And I do have some pre-printed larger pieces that I can put on the front as a sentiment. So let me just see if I've got anything that will play into that role. Peekaboo. That's kind of cute with a mat maybe. And I have some new baby things here, baby. Where is it? The day you were born. It's in there. Welcome to the world, sweet baby. Oh, that's kind of nice. We have been expecting you, sweet baby. Maybe something like that. Hello, baby. We've waited so long for you to arrive. I like that one. We're going to use that one for the front. And then we have all kinds of little bits and pieces that we can add in to the inside. So we need to have a sentiment down here. I'll love you forever, like you for always. Hello, our sweet bundle. Dream big, little one, 1, 2, 3. I think I like how these squares are actually the size, and I'll just make them slightly smaller, and they kind of fit on there. So that's the plan for that. Let's do those two things first. Okay. So first, let's close up my flip flap. This, I don't even think I have to do anything other than maybe, I'm not going to pop dot it because this is already quite thick, and if it goes in an envelope, it won't fit. So I'm going to round the corners of this. And this is a super easy way to just finish a card using the little journal spots that come in a collection. There we go. And that's going to go on there, and I might augment it with a couple of stickers or something. Hello, baby. What do we have in stickers? Just going to flip through really quickly. We have bears. We have flags and tags. What if I did one of these across the top? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what else we have. And I could do a big long tag right at the side there to add something. And what else we have? We have these guys. These ones are a little smaller. And then we have borders. Put a border that goes top to bottom. And we have little message squares and tags. Need to go to the tags, I think. And then little words. And I don't think I want the little words. And then we're back to the original. I think I'm going to go with this strip. Just add a little more oomph to the card base. And I'm going to move that. I'm going to put that about 1/4 of an inch. Now probably 3/8 of an inch from the side. All the way down. And then I'm going to snip off the extra. And then this guy is going to sit on top of that, like that. And there you go. This can go back in, because I will use that for something else. There we go. Let's get that down. So there we are. There's our front already done. Now I'm going to pop these open. And I like the idea of these already done squares. I think I'm going to use Our Sweet Bundle of Joy, Hello Baby, Loved and Adored, and Dream Big Little One. Those are the ones I'm going to use. So I am going to cut this way to get those off. And then this way to get those off. All right. I'm going to take this center section out here. And the bottom of that. We're going to take these two. And I'll probably make these a little smaller, but I'll separate them first and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. And I want all 3 of these, and look at that. Okay, I'm going to get my smaller cutter because this is a little less convenient. And we're going to trim these up. Now, those are 2 by 2, so I want to make these just under 2 by 2. And I've realized that I've cut them a little bit off. So I'm going to straighten that all up. I'm going to take 1/16 of an inch off of both sides. 1/16 of an inch. Oh, that's not going to look very good. So Hello Baby I won't be able to use. So that was not the one I was looking for. Oh, here it is. These are now 1 7/8 inches. Let's see if that's enough space. So if I do Sweet Bundle of Joy there, Dream Big Little One, and this has also got Sweet Bundle of Joy, but I think I'll live with it. There we go. Yep, I'm liking that. That looks awesome. But I want to round the corners, and I'm using my smallest corner rounder for this. All the details make a difference. And with anything baby, it's kind of nice to get those sharp edges off because, you know, babies want to have nice, smooth, rounded things around them. Even though it's not something the baby is going to hold, it just gives that whole baby-like ness about it. Let's just take these down. Oh, we're done. That is one finished thing of adhesive. So I like to go back and use any that are left on the adhesive roll. So I've got a couple of pieces here. I'll just use those. Got a couple of pieces here. I'll just finish that up here. And our final one. There, look how pretty that is. All right, there's our front. There's our pop out. Now we need just a couple of things. Let's just put my tape to the side here out of the way. And I'm going to get rid of these things so I have more space to actually pull out what I may need. All right, there we go. Now for the inside, let's see what we have here. Sweet little baby. Could do something like that, or something like that. Not the green, or precious little one. Or I could pretend to tuck a couple of tags across the top here. I like this one because it kind of coordinates with the colors that are there. And it's opposite of the green. Let's see what we have here. There's a baby on the way. That doesn't really work. This is all on the way stuff. So the baby has already arrived. Therefore, on the way is not going to work. Bundle of joy, we have a lot. It's just a little too big and a little too white. Beautiful baby brings so much happiness and joy. Could just be any baby's dream come true. Once in a while, someone amazing comes along, and here you are. Or this one. See, this is just not enough. I think I'm going to use that one. So, baby on the way. These two guys came out of here. I had a plan as to how I had these packaged, and to be honest, I don't remember what the plan was. And I am thinking that I have, what about peekaboo? So peekaboo or that one. I feel like this kind of goes with what's already going on there. And it's already matted, whereas this one is kind of bright. Yep. Okay, we're going to do this guy. And it has this interesting corner on it, an inverted corner. And I do have an inverted corner cutter, so I think I'm going to invert that corner. And that kind of gives it a little bit of a finish. Sorry, reach across. These guys I'll put away later. Okay. And then I can just mount this to the center of that. And I think we're good. I'm showing you all my tricks here, how I get my money's worth out of my products. By going back until I find some unused bits. And I have a little piece stuck on there. I'll add that to it. And now I am just going to run that across the bottom and center it in the top. And there we have it. Now I'm going to put in a little piece of just plain pale color. It's going to be too much. Actually, I have this little bit. I think that I'm good to make a small little journaling box where I'm going to write my sentiment. So I want to make this, I want to make it 3.5 inches. I'm going to round those corners again. And had I thought of it earlier, I could have rounded the corners of these guys as well, and then rounded the corners of the card, but I didn't think of it, so we're not worrying about it. And now we can stick this down. I'm going to stick this down with some glue, if I can get my glue working. And I always tell everybody what to do with their pen to make sure that they don't get their pen their pin lost, and of course I didn't do it. So now we're going to have to, that's too big a pin, we're going to use the pin off of this glue. I'm going to center that square, and a little space above and a little space below. There we go. And this is where I'm going to write my sentiment. And I'm just wondering if I have like a bumblebee or something I can stick up there to add as a little bit of a detail. I do have these guys that I could just swing across the top. Do I even like that? Or down here? Nope. That's not going to work for me. I have little mini bees that I could use as little decorative elements. Oops, let's put him going in a different direction. Oh, there's a little brown button here, which is kind of fun. Get that up. Add that maybe there. See if I have any more of those little buttons on another page. Oh, I have a yellow one, but that's not really going to stand out, I don't think. Any more buttons? Little baby buttons? There can't just be two little baby buttons. I guess there was. Those are big, those are big. I'm going to go into a repeat section. And steal that other little brown button. Perfect. Now we're going to use some glitter and then we're done. Glitter and some glossy accenty stuff. Glitter pen. All right. Always making sure that the glitter pen is nicely charged. You don't want it too wet or too thin. And we're just going to do this nice big balloon. I think we'll do some glitter on the little butterfly wings. I'll show it to you in a minute. So we have lots of glittery things happening with the wings on the butterfly. And then, before I do anything else, I'm going to go in here. And what can I glitter? I don't think I'm going to glitter anything in there. I'm going to leave the inside plain. But on the outside, these little guys, I'm going to make them into enamel dots by using some three-dimensional glue. And my butterflies are going to be my bees are going to be three-dimensional as well. I want to do this whole balloon. I'm afraid. I'm very afraid. I am just going to start and jump right in. So it's right over the glitter, so it's going to be glittery and epoxy. As scary as that was. Whoops, got a nice big bubble there. You don't want to do that. So don't move too quickly. All right. Let's wipe this off. All right. So there's our epoxy balloon, and our bees have epoxy bodies, and we've got the epoxy happening on all of the other parts. And this is my Winnie the Pooh pop-up card. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed our crafting tonight. Again, share this with friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel at the end of the video. See you next week. Bye.